Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Furman Football Weekly with head coach Clay Hendricks. Paladins are coming off of another road victory, this time 27-21 at Samford, ranked third in the new coaches poll and fourth in the media poll heading into this week's matchup at Western Carolina. And we'll talk more about that as we go through. Joining Coach Clay Hendricks today are Luke Clark and Luke Shiflett. And we'll ask Coach to make an opening statement, and then let Scott Keeler ask question number one.
Again, appreciate you being here. Actually just came off the practice field. We're on fall break today and tomorrow. So we got back late Saturday, gave our guys yesterday off, and then we came back this morning, kind of wrapped up the Samford game and pushed on to get ready for Western Carolina. But certainly happy to get a win over in Birmingham, and really proud of our team toughness our group showed throughout the game. Knew it was going to be a four-quarter game, and it was. And but just again, really proud of how our kids played, how hard we played, and did a lot of really good things. Certainly a lot of things we still got to clean up, and still think our best football's out there in front of us. And this certainly be a good week for it to show up if we can put it all together. But need to have a great week of prep for a really, really talented, good, all-around, football team in Western Carolina, and they'll take our very best effort to go up there and even have a chance. So, but with that, any questions you may have?
Coach, it was noticeable on offense on Saturday, the amount of chunk plays you got. Was that a culmination of, something y'all really been working on, something Samford was giving you, or a little bit of both? Can you just speak to the amount of big plays you had on offense?
I guess the best answer might be yes. It's something we've worked at. I felt like we're certainly talented enough to do that, but I know we had 4 pretty explosive runs in the passing game, and it kind of takes everybody, but that certainly was a big part of that game. It's a typical game for us that they did some things differently. It seems like this every week we get something different, a little bit, some little different change of defensively, and even some, we saw some stuff we saw last year, even out of the playoffs, show up in that game, some stuff we had seen. So, but now that's something we want to continue to get better at, playing a team this week that really has a lot of them. It's kind of really how they live, and so hopefully something we can build upon. Our guys have confidence enough to do it, and so hopefully, again, there'll be something we can build on.
It's good this game isn't being played on paper because their numbers are pretty impressive there. I think that the point differential in every common game has favored them. The two teams give up roughly the same amount of yards, but they gain a good many more. What are intangibles play a lot of it, and turnover differential is one of the things that they haven't done as well. But how do you contain that bunch?
Well, I think anytime you try to compare scores, and I tell our guys all the time, comparison's the thief of joy. But you try to compare scores. Each game's different. Each matchup's a little bit different. They don't tell you that Samford sat in the locker room for 5 hours up there with the score 14-7, and Chris was telling me a little bit about just that experience the other day. And so. East Kentucky they drop a winning touchdown. That guy catches it 10 out of 10 times at the end of the game. So just, we got a couple games could have certainly gone the other way, So, it's about preparation. Certainly they're a team that is really, really explosive. Their running back is as good as I think we've seen here in a long time. They're good up front. They're athletic. The quarterback's playing at a high level. They've got talent at wide receiver. So really, and they got a scheme that's going to spread you out. And they certainly run it and throw it. And then they're playing really well on defense. So, key for us is just do what we do, go have a great week of prep. And, again, we've been playing really good defense. And I don't know what Samford was averaging before last week, but I think they got substantially less than what they've been averaging. And that really takes a little bit of everybody. It takes us doing a good job offensively and certainly the things we did defensively. So, but again, that's why it's not played on paper. And I think we'll still line up and go play. It's funny, I told our team this morning, I don't think where we ever end up ranked. I think we're still kind of seem to be the underdog. So that's okay. We kind of like that. And, we're a bunch that, like I said, we are who we are. And, we're not going to go out talent. We certainly are not going to out talent Western Carolina. We're not. And as I always say, we have talent, but we got to go be exceptional in execution and toughness and keep doing those things. It has been a good winning formula for us, and that's what we'll have to do on Saturday.
Luke, as far as the defense goes, what's your thoughts going into this game with Western Carolina scoring as much as they have in the last 3 games?
Yeah, obviously very explosive offense. We know we got to be kind of just a unit this game. I don't think there's much difference in terms of, preparation. We prepare the same for every opponent, prepare very well. So really just trying to iron out the chinks in our armor, and just make sure we're playing as a unit out there.
Staying with Luke Clark for a moment, when I talked to Dwayne Vaughn, the defensive coordinator, last week, he was talking about every game that we have played this season, opponents are getting the ball out less than 2.5 seconds. So that doesn't give you a whole lot of time to sack the quarterback. And that's Samford's game plan, and yet you sacked him 9 times. What was the difference in that game as maybe opposed to the previous 4 or 5 games?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely hard to get sacks when the ball's coming out that fast. But, we did some different things schematically, with our DBs played a lot better. And, when you take away that first look and make Samford pretty one-dimensional, they rushed for under 50 yards. So make them one-dimensional, make them have to drop back. It's giving us a lot more time to let our pass rush get there. And, I don't think it's necessarily that we're rushing so much better this week than other weeks. It's just, we had time to get there for once, which is really nice.
And, Coach, that's what you told me in the pregame. You want to make them one-dimensional and not let them pop those running plays they did against us here last year.
Well, I think one of the keys was, the tempo is such a part of what Samford does offensively. And I really think tempo was a non-factor in the game. And credit, Dwayne and his staff and these guys. And we don't take it for granted. I thought our scout group did as phenomenal job as we've ever seen. In fact, our guys felt like they went faster than what they were seeing. And you look like, I think they kind of abandoned the tempo stuff later, maybe trying to get better calls in later in the game. But, so each week's a little different. I think that this bunch is a little different. I don't not to say they don't tempo, but they're probably look like they're a little more trying to get the right call. But again, in this bunch, you're not going to, like I said, their back is, like I said, they block well. They got a good scheme. He's really, really, really good in one-on-one situations. He's the back that makes a lot sometimes when there's not a lot there. So this week will be a little bit different, even though they want to run. I think people think they just want to throw it around, and I think they probably do, but they want to run the football, and they've done a really good job of it.
Coach, just looking at what kind of pops off to me about some of their stats, not just the typical, but their rush defense this year, because I know the last 2 years y'all played, Dom's had pretty big days. And just what do you see differently in the way they defend the run this year?
Well, again, I think it goes back a little bit comparison. They are clearly better defensively. Now they're 3 years into the system. I think this is maybe the coordinator's 2nd year. A lot of those guys are the same players, so they're better. Again, I just think a lot of it goes to the matchups, and you look at some of us, we've given up some passing yards. But have you played people throw the ball really well? Have they, I don't know who the best run offense they've seen. I don't know. They've certainly seen people run the ball. So, again, I just think each week's a little bit different, in how you match up. But they're talented, again, good scheme, and I just think they're better. They're better. And I don't know. I think some other people have always been playing from behind. If you're playing from behind, you're probably not running it a whole lot. But yeah, their stats are what they are. Really good on both sides of the ball.
This is the first time I remember having to specify Luke Shiflett. One thing that's common between Western Carolina and Furman is the fact that both teams have a very diverse group of receivers. Sorry about that. Western Carolina has 8 receivers with 10 or more catches, and y'all have 7 with 10 or more catches. Everybody always wants these guys like, Tyreek Hill is 12. But how y'all must be very happy. Sharing the wealth, and it must be. It's obviously very successful, but it must be. How do you guys feel about all that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had 7 or 8 receivers actually play in the first quarter of the game last week. We're just a very unselfish group, very close-knit family in that room over there, and Dudzik done a great job of, telling us just to do our job, and big plays will come for everybody. we all have group chats. We all talk to each other all the time. We're pulling for each other every single play. So I just think the brotherhood in that room is probably as close-knit as compared to anybody else in the country.
Coach, going into this game, how's the health of the team as we stand right now, with this being probably one of the biggest games right now of the season based on the records?
Yeah, we did lose Luke Pettit. Luke Pettit will be out for the rest of the year. He'll have to have surgery on an ankle, which is big loss. I hate it for Luke. He missed all of last year with a knee injury. He was playing really well for us this year. We have played a bunch of guys at that spot. We've Coach McCutcheon's rolled 3 or 4 guys at that spot, but certainly hate that for Luke. And and I think Blake Hunley came in the other day, played the majority of the ball snaps in the second half. Josh practiced this morning, after the hit he took the other day. No reason he won't be ready to go. And actually, Kendall Thomas practiced some this morning. So we'll see how his week kind of progresses. But really not bad. Otherwise, we had the couple of previous ones, the guys are out. Now, Grant Robinson, can we get him back in a few weeks? I don't know. We'll see. But overall, not bad. I think everybody's banged up, this time of year. And I think there are a lot of guys playing on a lot of football teams that are banged up, not 100%. And we're certainly one of those too.
Comes down to the old saying, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured, right?
Yeah. Especially in our sport, if you're not feeling something, then you've probably not been playing very hard. So I think that's pretty common factor for our sport.
For both of the players, the string of conference wins going back to last year is now at 10. The regular season road wins. I mean, this team has become something of road warriors. How do you develop that mentality? What has gone into that success playing away from Paladin Stadium? Luke, since you're staring at me, and Luke Clark, I'll start with you.
Yeah, going on the road and winning is no easy task for sure. And I think that really, something like that, going on the road, it comes back to toughness. And something we talk about a lot is the culture of this team. And, we feel like wherever we go, wherever we play, it's the same thing as playing at home. And, we're a band of brothers, and wherever we go, we play as a unit. And, going into enemy territory is the most fun thing to do and go get a win, So I think, that winning on the road ties into our culture a lot.
Like he said, going on the road is pretty hard, but even since last year, we've had a bunch of close games that we've found a way to win at the very end. I think just the confidence we have going into the fourth quarter, wearing on people the whole time, I think we're very, very confident to close out games. So actually, I kind of like playing on the road. It's just the people you're around all the time. There's not outside distractions, and it's actually kind of more fun going in on the road and winning. So,
Luke, the other day, Samford, the second half, you guys go 3 and out to start. Samford goes down and scores to make it 17-14. So they got all the momentum, and then the next play, you get a 48-yarder. And then I think 2 plays later, you caught one for 13, and then Dom did the rest. It seemed like every time Samford made it that 1-score game, you guys had an answer. And can you just speak to that play in particular? Because 17-14 midway through the third quarter, that's kind of a different game. And to come back with that kind of play, the next play, can you kind of take me through that play and that drive in itself?
yeah, well, I'll start off with Coach Dudzik. He always tells us, if they go down there and score, just keep doing your job. Coach Roper has the next play mentality, but on that play specifically, they always had a 3-high safety look essentially the whole game. The safety was outside leverage with me, and the backer kind of came down in the box. So my eyes got pretty big once the ball was snapped, but it was just a simple 5-step slant route essentially, and there was just a lot of room. Huff gave me a good ball, and it was a big play.
Luke, perhaps 10 sacks after the previous early part of the season was all about getting turnovers, but there weren't that many sacks. What changed against Samford? Was it more what y'all changed, or how they were different?
I don't necessarily think much changed. I just think, we finally showed up. We finally put it together, really. And, we didn't have a turnover last night, or at the game, but, Gilby dropped a pretty easy one that we'd like to come up with. So, we know how to force turnovers. We know how to get after the quarterback. We've always been good at it. And I think this game just we just put it together and it showed up. I think any other game it could have shown up, but this game we played it better as a defense and as a group. Really had a lot more guys doing their job and more worried about doing their job.
Coach, kind of going back to the health of the team, what does it say about Furman that you've got so many great players on this team that can step right in when someone gets injured, and it's like you just don't stop. You just keep on going, and it's just like you got the players that you need to be in the right spot no matter what happens.
Well, I think it speaks for the job our assistant coaches have done just from a player development standpoint. What Andre does in the weight room. Certainly we've talked about retention around here. Guys want to be a part of our program where numbers are a little higher. Kids that had the ability to come back came back, want to be a part of what we're doing. But again, we've played a lot of guys. I think we've got 12 guys with sacks this year, 12 different guys. A little bit of an unselfish group. I think a lot of them feel like they know we're better. The old saying, when you got one, you got none. And so, we've always tried to build, develop depth here. And that's been, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So again, just goes back to them and, retaining guys, developing guys, and we're that kind of program that has to do that, and we've plugged in a guy here or there through transfer. We're playing another group this week that has a lot of transfers. It's just not going to work for us here. It's just not going to work at our school, and it creates challenges. But also there's a lot of positives that come in that. And we haven't had to play a lot of young guys, and again, because we've been able to retain our old guys. And I think right now we're still playing 3 freshmen. It's kind of all we're playing. Played 2 last year. And again, really proud of that young group that's doing a phenomenal job on the look teams. There are a bunch of those guys. And these next few games, you're going to see a few names pop up there probably you hadn't seen. They're going to jump in on special teams and do things because we can use the 4-game rule. And then we also got the blanket waiver. If you can get in the playoffs, those games don't count now. You can play those guys. So, and that's certainly our goal going forward, but we're just trying to focus on one game at a time right now.
Clay, the Luke on your left a moment ago referenced winning close games when we were talking about being on the road. Just interested from your standpoint about what goes into developing that mentality, because you can go back a couple of years and we lost some close games, but then starting after Samford last year, seemingly every time this team has been in one and needed to do something to make a play to win the game, you've been able to do it. How do you develop that mentality?
Well, he said it, and Luke said it. I think the toughness aspect of it. And I think just, and that's physically and mentally, and then I just think it probably speaks just consistency. I do think on the road, so much of it's just about consistency and getting great effort all the time. And if you do the little things well enough, long enough, it's generally going to pay off for you. I think our conditioning aspect of it has been a phenomenal job Andre's done. Really confident in the fourth quarter. Sometimes I can't say we've always played our best there, but I felt like we get a little stronger as games go on. And I don't know how the sack total came out, but obviously at the end of that game, one of the things we wanted to do the other day was maybe we hadn't finished a game or hadn't finished a half quite like we wanted to on defense, but they were huge the other day. Got the stop before the half. We went down and scored. Almost the exact same situation we practiced last Wednesday on 2-minute. It was about a 40-yard, going the other direction. So I think just consistency and consistent effort, and then I do think that just the physical mental toughness aspect of it's a big part of it, and that's through training. That doesn't just happen. And then when you have a little success, and hopefully you can build upon it.
Coach, I went back to the hotel Saturday night and turned on ESPN, and there's Furman on the top plays. So we probably need to ask about that. But I actually want to ask you about Ben Ferguson's hands in general and what he's brought to the table this year. And obviously that play on Saturday was pretty
Well,
phenomenal.
I think, it's interesting. We're recruiting Ben, and Ben's high school coach's son played for me at the Air Force Academy. He's from the Woodlands, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. And it was later in the recruiting year, and we were looking for a receiver. And there's a guy by the name of Danny Amendola that played the same high school. And all through the process, he was comparing him to him. He said, had him. And it's funny, Ben probably played a year ago, and I'm not sure Ben was quite ready for that. And he's a little bit hurt as a freshman. But man, he had a phenomenal spring, August. There'll probably be some to argue, but if I had to bet or lay my money on the best hands on the team, it's probably going to be him. And I will say this: I turned, that whole sequence was kind of odd because we had the timeouts. We probably didn't use one of them well because we had a little bit of a personnel issue one time, and then we got the penalty, which created more downs, but you didn't have time. And then we knew we could run one play, and we didn't really think run it. You're either gonna. We felt like we need to get points, and I think the only thing I said to Justin was throw it to number 3. I think he's probably got a pretty good chance of catching it. Now did I? But I see him make. I can't say a catch like that, but I see him do a lot of things like that at practice, just hands wise. And boy, he made a number of other big catches too. So no, he's been not a surprise, but really I just think he's that guy from year 1 to year 2. He's just a completely different guy, and certainly a go-to guy.
From watching this team, one of my theories has been that you guys hang around this place so long because you like it and it fits you. And I just wondered for both of y'all, how, when you look way back to when you decided to come here, what made you decide to come, and how has it matched up to what you expected?
Yeah, so I actually transferred here after my freshman year. I was at Middle Tennessee, complete polar opposite kind of program from this. It's a good program, but coming here was definitely, it's been very beneficial for me, and I've been really grateful for Coach Hendricks even letting me come. Just academically, athletically, it's pretty unmatched. You got the Stanfords and the, Yales, Harvards, those schools, but down here, football's a big deal, academics are a big deal. Our fan base actually really cares about the football team as well. I think 2 weeks ago against the Citadel, we had roughly 13,000 people show up. It's just been good. And like last year, we had a bunch of seniors come back. It was really hard to say no to not come back. It's just, I think we all had one mind and goal was to get a ring this year, and some of us maybe could come back next year, so we'll see. But
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than Luke. I was kind of recruited more out of high school. Went on an official visit here and committed. Something that stood out to me was just, talk about the quality of coaches we have, Coach Hendricks, Coach Vaughn, those guys. Just really like when I got here, it just stood out that something's different about this team. Campus is beautiful. People care about you here and want you to actually grow as a person. And you go to a lot of these schools and they just want you to be a football player. You talk about wanting to be a Furman man and grow into someone who's going to be successful. This is the place to be, and I knew that once I was, committed here.
Luke, Cole Gonzalez is quite a passer, and he's had some great games. What's your thoughts going into this game that you're going to have to be in order to keep him under control in that pocket?
Yeah, just to be the same player we all are, obviously efficient quarterback, efficient offense. We're not going to sit here and ignore the facts. Very explosive team. I think our main goal is to, just play our brand of football, eliminate explosives, get the ball on the ground, tackle well, probably need to tackle a little bit better. Had a lot of missed tackles, including myself against Samford. So, getting that back on the ground, need to just catch tackle, can't let them get a lot of yards after catch. They have a great quarterback, they have a great O-line, but, nothing changes. We can get after that bunch, and I know we can. So that's the plan, get after them.
Clay, at the football media days, I talked to Kerwin Bell and told him that we were probably the only 2 people in the room that remembered him from his Orlando Thunder days in the old World League. I was covering them as a writer when he played in those lime green fluorescent jerseys. But I was just wondering, do you have any history with Kerwin Bell at all before he got here to Western?
I really don't, other than, we're kind of similar time frames there. I remember him as a player, and I really didn't. I've certainly observed him from a distance. He's been really successful, particularly, offensively. That's kind of how he made his name. Everywhere he's been, and certainly, it's not hard to look see what he's done there, short period of time. This bunch, somebody asked me about that. I said they've always been really athletic. They've had some really good teams. And, so I guess another one of those groups, I guess this is may even be my 31st meeting because I think we played them twice one year. So I've played a lot of games against them. They've always been, they've always had talent. But again, it's pretty easy to look and see what they've done, and playing with a lot of confidence. And I think sometimes when you have they got it seemed last year all the big conference games were at the end of the year. And this year, they got a big win against Samford, maybe week 2. And I think sometimes you do that, you get a little confidence, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. And, certainly, I think he comes across as that kind of guy, and I'm sure they get it from him. And, but no, he's certainly been good everywhere he's been.
Luke Shiflett, you did start in Middle Tennessee, but it sure seems like you've been here longer than anybody else. Can you tell me about being, I guess it's the second, you played receiver your entire time here, but you had that quarterback thing. You had some injuries. You sat another year on the COVID thing and everything. How satisfying is it for your final year here to be in that set role of the receiver? And I also noticed just kind of the team mentality you guys talk about. I think you and Jaquan Smith this year scored a touchdown, and on the next play on the kickoff return, y'all made the tackle. Is that something you enjoy? Do you enjoy being part of that team too, especially after you just go catch touchdown? All right, go back out there and make the tackle. Can you just speak to the whole experience of this final year for you?
Yeah, I actually think that was Nick Cannon that scored on the jet sweep and then made the tackle. But yeah, the past 2 years have been really exciting. Have been really just fulfilling. It's hard to not want to come back to this program and the people you're around. Like Luke said, the coaching staff, all the players you're around. It's rewarding. It's exciting. Everyone looks forward to practice every day. The weeks have been flying by, so I kind of want it to slow down a little bit. But I definitely would like to come back if I got the opportunity to again. So.
Clay, you got a big rivalry with Citadel, they're down. Got a big rivalry with Wofford, they're down. Got a rivalry with Samford, you just did because they won the conference last year. But when you were here, the most bitter rival was probably Western Carolina, and after many years in between, it could reach that. Right now, there's a good chance of another big rival for Furman being Western because they're not that far away.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell our team all the time, we seem to kind of get everybody's best shot. And you talked about these teams being down. I said, I think they probably are till they play us, and then they seem to play a little better. But I don't know. It was fun to be a part of that. Those were some big games when I was here. They were really talented and had some really good players. We had some big games with them, as we have over the years, number of times, and certainly with the proximity. And I think any time, I think our league's better when West Carolina's good. I don't know if I think our whole league's good when everybody's pretty good. But certainly. It'll be a fun environment for us to go play in. I know when they've had success, they've supported them, done well, and I expect Saturday to be no different. But no, it'll. This will be an interesting matchup. It's kind of fun. Again, I can probably name, on two hands there, certain games over the years. A couple of those Citadel games we played here, and. Now a lot of them were Georgia Southern, Appalachian, and Marshall, and maybe a couple of Wofford games. But, and this certainly got a chance to be one of those kinds of games.
Any other questions from the room? Final thought, Coach, before we wrap it up.
No, we just need to have a great week of prep. Again, big challenge ahead of us, but I think certainly one we're looking forward to. And we just got to go be Furman. And again, I know our kids will have a great week of prep. Our staff will do a great job getting our guys in a position where they can go be successful. But you got to go get it done on Saturday, and we'll go up there. And I have no doubt our kids will lay it out on the line, and hopefully we can execute well enough to give ourselves a chance to go get a win.
Well, depending on which poll you're looking at, it's either going to be a top 10 or a top 15 matchup in Cullowhee. Kickoff is at 2:30. It will be available via ESPN+. Of course, we would invite you to watch it if you're not going to make the trip. Turn down the sound and check out the radio broadcast. We'll begin with a Pepsi countdown to kickoff on the Van Wagner Ingalls Furman Radio Network beginning at 1 p.m. That's 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 in Spartanburg via the Fan Upstate, and everywhere on the Odyssey app. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Coach Clay Hendricks, Luke Clark, Luke Shiflett, for your time today, and we look forward to Saturday in Cullowhee, as my friend Daniel Hooker likes to call it, the battle for purple supremacy, as these two teams get together at 2:30 p.m. Until then, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. So long, everybody. This has been a Hunter Reed, Jeff Schetzel production.